Alwyn Cashe was born July 13, 1970 in Oviedo, Florida, to Andrew and Ruby Mae Cashe. He was part of a big family as the youngest of 10 siblings. They didn't have the finer things in life, but they had what they needed. The patriarch of the family was a hard-working man in construction who instilled that work ethic in his kids. He would tell his kids, quote, "Whatever you do it like you're putting your name on it." He led by example until his passing very early in Alwyn's life. It's not bad advice. Whatever you do it like you're putting your name on it. I might have to use that later. Now, Uncle Al was the adventurous type of kid. He loved to fish and hunt, and when you live in a place like Central Florida, you're set up quite nicely for those activities. And then there was the other stuff young boys try to do. You know, build ramps and jump them with your bike and daredevil type of stuff. He also would jump off the house just to see if he could. His siblings often teased his mom about being soft on Alwyn. Remember, he was the youngest of 10, so by the time his parents are a bit older, they may not have been as strict as they were on Alwyn's older siblings. But there could be another reason they did this as well. Risk-taking is something that goes hand in hand with leadership. But now that I think about it, given where Uncle Al grew up, risk-taking and forging your own path is a bit of a common theme. But who could I be thinking of? Am I thinking of Daniel Chappie James Jr., the Pensacola native who flew almost 200 missions in Korea and Vietnam? He was also the first black 4-star general in military history. And while serving as the commanding officer at the U.S. Air Force Base in Libya, he almost had to pull that burner out on Muammar Gaddafi when the Libyan dictator pulled up to the gate. Trust me, there's a whole story there. Check out the show notes to see what I mean. But nah, that's not it. Who am I thinking of? Who is it that a young Alwyn Cashe reminds me of? I swear it's on the tip of my tongue.
Our ancestors were some of the most fiercest fighters during the war.
During the Indian Wars?
Yes.
Wait, Indian Wars. Okay, I think it's coming back to me. Hey, Uncle Bud Crockett, speak on it a bit further with Emily Cartwright of 60 Minutes, the longtime CBS News program. Jog my memory just a little bit more.
Due to the fact that they knew if they were recaptured, they were going into slavery, back into slavery.
Okay, got it. Let me get you up to speed. See, Alwyn, like I said before, is born in Oviedo, Florida, which sits in Seminole County, referring to the Seminole tribe of Native Americans, prevalent in Florida, Oklahoma, and Mexico. That's who he reminds me of. The person I was trying to remember is John Horse and the Black Seminoles. Yep, you heard me right. There is a such thing as the Black Seminoles. And to show you what I mean, let's rewind the tape so I can show you the connection between that risk-taking spirit and Uncle Al. Man, Uncle Bud, you are a real one for that assist. I just love when the ancestors come through in the clutch like that. Okay, let's go right about here. It's Florida in the early 1800s. It's a wild, untamed land where Native Americans and runaway enslaved black people found refuge. These two groups, seeking shelter from oppressive forces, the U.S. government, came together, formed a mixed society, having babies, and from that birthed the Black Seminoles. Now, remember during this time, Florida was not part of the United States, but owned by Spain. But the Spanish made a deal with the Black Seminoles that if they defended Florida, they were thereby defending the crown, so they could stay there in peace as far as the Spanish were concerned. So imagine a large community of Native Americans and black people working together, thriving together, building families, but also heavily armed together. After the American Revolutionary War, as you can imagine, many Southern white people, particularly those who owned the enslaved, didn't like that at all. The reason for this, that if you were enslaved and ran away and found yourself in Florida, you would be able to live there and live your best life as a free person. And if you were a plantation owner out here trying to move this cotton and tobacco, and you primarily depended on free labor, that would be a problem. I mean, it's a personal problem, but a problem all the same. So in 1818, then General Andrew Jackson invaded Florida in an attempt to take it for the United States. And when he got there, he began murdering the leaders in the territory. Later, the United States would purchase Florida, and then General turned President Andrew Jackson will begin his infamous doctrine of the removal of Native Americans, thereby leading to something you probably are familiar with, the Trail of Tears. This prompts the Second Seminole War, a brutal conflict. It was the costliest of the Indian Wars, both in terms of money and lives lost. Amidst the chaos, the Black Seminoles, led by the charismatic John Horse, fought bravely, and for good reason. By this point, John had helped create the largest haven in the U.S. South for runaway enslaved people and led the largest slave revolt in U.S. history. In addition to that, they secured the only emancipation of rebellious enslaved people prior to the U.S. Civil War. Over the next 7 years, the U.S. government found out that the Black Seminoles were not an easy way and had to make a deal with them to end the fighting. The agreement promised that if they moved to Oklahoma, they would be left in peace, including those who had run away to be with the Black Seminoles. But as you know by now, sometimes the U.S. government be on that f***ery when it comes to keeping promises, which leads us to the point where U.S. Attorney General Nathan Clifford enters the chat. In 1848, the Attorney General said that the federal government never had the authority to recognize their freedom and that those who had been enslaved were in fact still enslaved. So not only did the white Southerners consider it open season on these Black Seminoles, but even some of the neighboring Native American tribes would attack them as well, as they traveled to and settled in Oklahoma. So John Horse knew he had to leave the state and ultimately the United States. Facing betrayal, John Horse and his followers embarked on yet another extraordinary journey. They formed the largest mass exodus of enslaved people across the United States, ultimately seeking refuge in Mexico. And here's the kicker. John Horse didn't just find safety in Mexico, he became a general in the Mexican army. And under his leadership, the Black Seminoles received protection from the Mexican government, creating a new haven for their community. The story of John Horse and the Black Seminoles is a statement to the strength and resilience of those who dare to fight for their freedom. It also proves that we got it right with the title of this show as it relates to aligning ourselves with Native Americans. Black truly is America.